So first of all, thank you all very much for joining. This indeed is a different type of colloquium series. Hannah, thank you very much for also allowing us to make use of this slot as a continuation of the workshop that we started in Vienna in September. For those who joined the workshop, it was very well visited and we ran out of time. So we came up with the idea of continuing the workshop online and hosting the knowledge cafes virtually. So this colloquium series is on communities of practice and learning, an essential platform for sustainable land management in African agriculture, presented by Benjamin from FADA and myself. So I will give you a brief introduction and some background, and then Benjamin will continue providing you with more information on D groups and the knowledge cafes, and we will conclude by opening up the group for a discussion. So the purpose of this colloquium series is twofold. On the one hand, as I mentioned, it's a continuation of the workshop Knowledge Management for Sustainable Agriculture in Sub-Saharan Africa, which we started last month. And it is also an introduction into hosting the knowledge cafes, which Benjamin will go into later on. The second purpose of this is also to provide insights into communities of practice themselves, and specifically also D groups. D groups is a platform that is provided to us by FARA for us to use of the regional projects and the accompanying projects. And so far we've established a few sub-communities, but I think there's a lot more that we can leverage. So this is also a little insight into what communities of practice can give us and how we can make use of D groups. So from as some background from the workshop, we were made aware that sustainable land management is driven by innovations, and in turn that these innovations are driven by knowledge. Knowledge comes in a variety of forms, scientific knowledge as well as indigenous knowledge, local knowledge, private sector knowledge, and with this variety of knowledge, it is very important to have a co-creation and management thereof, so that we can come up with solutions to sustainable or solutions for sustainable land management. Yes, this is always easier said than done. There are a huge amount of challenges, which I think all of us have also encountered in the course of this project and also previous projects, specifically for sustainable land management. There's a high diversity of farm situations, low degree of formal education, weak states, low budgets, language barriers, as well as infrastructural problems, even internet access issues with a digital divide. And then not only that, but a lot of innovations also need supporting skills and services, which are then not always readily available. So this is where we think knowledge management is a good fit and can help us along a lot. That knowledge management is not only about collecting knowledge, but it is also connecting people to that knowledge. There are two forms of knowledge. On the one hand, explicit knowledge, and as well as tacit knowledge. And the knowledge management ensures that we can push relevant knowledge and pull needed knowledge, which we can see in this wonderful illustration, which is also included in a PDF file available on the website, so you can always look back there to get an overview. So knowledge management is one thing, but where does this happen? How can we do it? And this is where communities of practice and learning come in. It is not an empty space. It is rather a space where people come together with a common interest to share best practice, to co-create knowledge. And these communities of practice are informal in nature and also voluntary, which Benjamin will also explain later on. So it's a very concrete hive and community where people with common interests come together and really want to learn and share with each other and from each other. Having said that, I think we all, to an extent, have made use of a community of practice and learning, and it would be great to have your brief feedback. There are 4 questions in a Mentimeter. It would be great if you could scan the code and briefly go through the questions, just for us to get an idea of what your expectations are, how you currently use communities of knowledge, communities of practice and learning, what you think are benefits and potential constraints. You can do this while in the colloquium series, and we'll collect the results and share them at the end. So no rush to do it quick now. Please scan the code, and everyone is very good at multitasking nowadays. So please make use of the multitasking skills that you have. That was my part on giving you a bit of an introduction and also some background of this colloquium series. And I look forward to also seeing your responses in the Mentimeter. But for now, I will pass you on to Benjamin.
Okay, thank you very much, Irene, and greetings everyone on this community today. Irene has already spoken a bit about communities of practice, and my duty now is just to share with you concretely what we have been doing around communities of practice, the kind of platform that we've used to advance communities of practice in a way that kind of whip our interests, and also to understand that there are a lot more things that are happening that requires the connection to be able to advance the knowledge push and the knowledge pull. So for over 15 years now, the Forum for Agriculture for the Forum for FARA as an institution has been advancing the use of a platform called the D Group. It's development groups and the short form is D Groups, as an online platform that is designed to facilitate collaboration among stakeholders, knowledge sharing, and networking among individuals, and also organizations. And all of this is focused on social and sustainable development goals, as we have been working around. So for over this period, we have been able to assemble close to 70 communities addressing different agenda, and over 40,000 stakeholders in engaging within these communities. Now, the whole essence is to be able to ensure strengthened communication, advanced education, which has to do with whether you are learning or you are sharing, and to create an environment that is dynamic enough to promote networking among individuals and communities. Next slide, please. Now, for over the years, we have used this community that is focused on different subject areas. We have communities that are looking at indigenous and forgotten foods. We have communities that are looking at sustainable development, sustainable land management, and so on and so forth. So together, we have always used this community as the basis to actually gather the needed voices to project an innovation, to scale a technology, or to network people. And so these are just samples of the things that we have come out with through this community engagement. One of the key things I just want to highlight is in COP26, it was this same D Group that we use as an African community to gather feedback from key people from the African community on what Africa means by the food systems. What do we mean by food systems? So the policy brief that came up and that was presented at COP was strengthening African agricultural research and development towards improved Africa food system. And this is something that is available online. We also have used the D group as a tool to engage within the knowledge management for agriculture development community, where we have used knowledge cafes as a major tool to get stakeholders talking about issues, generating content from those issues, and developing knowledge products out of it. And these are things that are just samples, but we have over maybe almost hundreds of documents that have been generated through this platform and available online. Please, next slide. Yes. So because, I mean, through that, we have used the lessons that we've learned from these, the over 10 years of experience that we've had engaging communities to also advance another subject area, which is very important to even the Sub-Saharan Africa, which we have not been doing it collaboratively. And so the sustainable land management agenda, which is being spearheaded by INTERFACES and other projects, research projects like Quines, Declare, Inforate, and Minodu have been, have also together, we've started the process of getting ourselves engaging in community that discusses issues of land and sustainable land management in Sub-Saharan Africa. At the moment, we have about over 400 people that are registered on this platform, and we want to begin to engage more concretely, more specifically on a number of thematic areas. And fortunately, the Knowledge Management for Agriculture Development Challenge has provided us that instrument to be able to engage further on this. And so you are welcome to register to join this platform if you are already not. The link is there. We'll also put it on the chats so that you can be part of it and continue to engage with us on the thematic areas that we are looking at on sustainable land management. Next slide, please. So now, for the next 2 months and before the end of the year, we are building on what we started somewhere from April this year, where we had about 5 PhD students who are working around the knowledge management for agriculture development model, using that model to generate specific knowledge products that are very relevant for advancing agriculture in Africa. And so we are fortunate to have this session that is going to be moderated. Now, within the D group space, we would always give, because it is powered by emails, we would always have 1 or 2 weeks period for us to engage within the platform. And then we would have a webinar to have more detailed discussion on the feedback that we've gotten through the D group engagement. Now, fortunately for us, these people I'm going to introduce already have developed knowledge products through similar process, and it's almost ready for validation. Many of you might have been part of the Knowledge Management for Agriculture Development Knowledge Cafe sessions. And so this is just to help us to mutually learn, share ideas and insights, and to gain deeper understanding on the subject areas that these people are going to make available to us. Next, please. So on the 24th of October, 2024, we would begin a D group preliminary discussion session where 2 key knowledge products that have been developed and they are still in drafts, going through a validation process, would be shared among people, stakeholders within this community. First, we'll be looking at microdosing, a promising sustainable soil fertility management in Sub-Saharan Africa for food security. And this is a knowledge brief that is already developed by Yohonu Naziz. Naziz is a PhD candidate with the University for Development Studies in Ghana here, and he's from Benin. The same period, we would also share another knowledge product that is exploring women's land access challenges and importance of secure tenure for economic and social empowerment. Wilfred is another PhD student. He's from the University of Parakou, and Wilfred is another a candidate of the knowledge management who are going to also engage us in this subject area. So we want to have you join the platform, and then this draft will be shared, and you can help us validate this knowledge product within the context of co-creation. Next slide. Then on the 27th of November, again, we would have the last set of this group for this year, where we will start another G group sharing session. Then we would have a 1 week sharing, and on the 4th December, we would have a validation workshop through Zoom like this. And then they would present the feedback that they would have gotten from you through the G group platform. Now, on that day, we would have 2 key knowledge briefs also. This has also been produced in drafts and now looking forward to validation. And so your input will be very important. First, we'll be looking at pathways to organic fertilization through the documentation of successful models for crop residue management. Our Dorcas Alami Sanginga, a PhD candidate with the University of Bonn also, is authoring this, or has authored this draft, and we'll be looking forward to more feedback from you. Secondly, we would have knowledge to advance the right selection of crop, considering climate and soil data. And we would have Dr. Kizito Ganji, who is a research scientist with WASCAL, based in the WASCAL Competency Center in Ouagadougou, and Melika Bonisi, who is also a PhD candidate with the University of Kassel in Germany, and currently with WASCAL also in Burkina Faso. And so these are 2 key knowledge products that we'll also be looking at in November, December. So we would be looking forward to having you, make the necessary feedback and join us to also validate this knowledge product. Now, the concept of the knowledge management for agriculture development is about co-creation. We believe that the best way to have things accepted or scaled is to ensure that we are all part of the process. Things that knowledge is not in one person's head, and so when many stakeholders come together, it becomes richer in terms of the impact that it will make to society. Next. Yeah. So with these words, I would want to hand over back to Irene, and then we can take some feedback from members of the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks. I can share the results of the first question.
Okay. So whilst you work on sharing the first one, maybe I just wanted to also show participants just the live version of the D group of interfaces, which I believe many of you might either are already part of it, just for you to have an appreciation of the diversity of the people that are in, and your contribution, how relevant your contribution will make to the overall agenda for sustainable land management. And so if you can see my screen,
Yes.
this is the administrative page. I mentioned that we already have about 481 members. So you are adding up to a rich number of persons. And you can see that if you can see my screen, if it's good enough.
Yes, it's good.
Okay. If you can see my screen on my left, you will notice that we have people coming from Africa and Europe, and even other parts of the world as well. You can see mostly the majority of people. If I look at you'll see that Germany has about 23, Ghana has 23, Kenya has 23, Malawi has 22, Nigeria, as usual, based on size, there are 59, and we have Uganda 23, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and there are members that join that are yet to update their profile to include their country. So we are looking forward to having a very, more encompassing discussion because the issue of land is very dynamic. And even in Africa, issues of land in Eastern Africa is totally different from Western Africa, from Southern Africa. And so you bringing in your perspective on these topics that we are going to discuss would be very, very important. And so don't, I mean, we would share, definitely, as I mentioned, we will be sharing the draft a week before the cafe itself, so that you would have the opportunity to read through and then to make the necessary input before even joining the draft. Now, within this, the whole platform is holistic enough to keep all our discussions. So we have a library where we'll be uploading the document so that you can access. We would have the calendar will also be updated so that you can always have the upcoming events. But this is the platform. This is where we'll be using mostly the discussion page. That is what is going to host almost all the content that you will be sharing. So you would read through. You don't need to make your input directly on the document. You just need to write on the platform, the discussion thread, so that the facilitators get access to it. It's, for me, it's at the end of it all, the most important thing is that every person's contribution is very important. And that's the relevance of communities. The fact that diversity is accepted and integrated into the knowledge generation process is what make a knowledge product very, very much important. So this is how the platform looks like. If you join, you would be accepted immediately, and then you would begin to get updates so that we can all together build a more sustainable land management network in sub-Saharan Africa and even beyond. So this is just what I wanted to add on to the presentation. Maybe, Irvin, if you are ready with the Mentimeter results, then you can share. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. While Irvin is loading her screen, thanks very much, Benjamin, for again showing the power of the discussion group that is labeled interfaces, but it's far bigger than interfaces, of course. Cool. Thanks, Irvin.
Yeah. So I think I need to actively start the presentation of Mentimeter to go through the slides. So the first question was, what do you expect from a community of practice and learning? And pretty much all of you have responded with some keywords. Exchange is front and center, as well as knowledge. For the moment, I will click through to the next slide so that we can see the other questions as well, and we can use the responses of all 4 questions in the discussion. But your responses will be captured and shared afterwards in any case. So this is the second question. I hope you can access it now. Which communities of practice and learning do you currently use? Which is also very interesting for us to know, also to link up between communities of practice and learning. During the workshop at Tropentag, we had prepared, aside from D groups, also some information on the community of practice and learning from UNCCD. Hannah has ensured that the response works. I'm assuming by the letters.
No, this is not me.
Okay.
I mean, somebody is entering those letters.
Yeah, then it's a coincidence that it's your initials. Apologies. Yeah, so we wanted to give some examples of communities of practice, D groups being one of them, that has a lot of different communities. Our interfaces one is just one of the communities. There's then also the UNCCD community of learning and practice. There's also CGIAR communities on gender, for example. There are also more secluded communities of practice that are rather workspaces. but the principles of a community of practice and learning are very similar to that as well. So yeah, it would be great if you can share all the various communities of practice that you yourself use. I don't know if I dare to click to the next slide without foregoing responses for this question, but I think for the sake of time, I will. I hope that these questions also stay available to you, so you can also fill it in with some more time on your side. It's also really great to know what for you would be the greatest benefit of a community of practice and learning. To draw out what emphasis would be useful to have, so that we can also cater towards that on our D groups. And experience exchange, I think, is a very good response to that in any case. So I'll give you another moment here to fill in, and then I will go to the final question. I'm seeing a lot of buzzwords and keywords that are exactly what we are aiming at with this session as well, to show how we can share experience, how we can co-create knowledge together, and how we can network. So yeah, these responses are very nice to see. So I will move to the last question. And what have you, in your experience, seen as a constraint for those who have actively used communities of practice and learning? What were obstacles that you came across that we can maybe pull some lessons learned on what not to do and how to improve engagement in such communities? Yeah, information overload is the first one that has come up. I can understand that. That's also key to knowledge management, that there isn't an overload of information, but that it is curated to personal interests, whereby there are so many communities of practice and learning, even on D groups, that you can then select which sub-communities you are most interested in. And you can also change your settings to accommodate personal preferences of how often you would like to receive information, so that you are not overloaded, and that it's always a pleasure to come back onto these communities of practice and learning. So please do also be alerted to the settings that this can be changed, and also by the creation of sub-communities within our interfaces community itself. We can open up specific groups for specific tasks. For all the project colleagues, this is indeed what we also plan to do in the run-up to the status seminar, that we can have specific discussions on specific topics in the run-up, and really use the knowledge that is shared on the platform to accumulate it into a knowledge product in some form. Yeah. Time indeed is also a big constraint, which is why we are very happy that we are able to make use of this colloquium series, and then have these knowledge cafes, so that there is a time set aside within a short period of time, where we start with a discussion a week in advance by uploading the information from the knowledge products, to have a moderated discussion within a specified time, and then an output after that, that we can really see what is happening with the information, and that no information is also lost. So I will stop sharing my screen now. Thank you all very much for all your responses. I'll leave the Mentimeter running on the side. But for, now it would be great to hear you speak.